Hello Junior 4 students, how are you? Welcome in your science class with me, Miss Shaimaa Hamdy Kassem, and in your channel, the Big Sister channel. As now we will start the first lesson in Concept 1, Unit 1. Okay, are you ready? So let's start. As we have now Activity 1, okay, in the concept Adaptation for Survival, okay? What do you see here? Yes, this is a beautiful bird, yes? And bird is an animal, so it is a living organism. Why? Because animals can breathe, can move, they can reproduce. What the meaning of reproduce? Yes, to have babies, yes. So all of these characteristics are for the living organisms, okay? Okay, as you see here, this is a flower, and the plants are living organisms, yes? Here we have beautiful cats, so those are living organisms, as they can breathe, they can move, they can reproduce, okay? And they can eat, okay? So what you see here, yes, this is a beautiful family as they are playing with each other in the garden. So human is a living organism, okay? So now we know that plants, animals, and human are living organisms. There are non-living things, as they haven't the characteristics of living organisms. They can't eat, they can't reproduce, okay? So, like what? Like the sun, water, in the sea and oceans, rivers, yes? Rocks, all the rocks, clouds, all of these are non-living things. You know, as all living organisms need the non-living things, okay, as they drink water, the plant need the sun to grow up, yes? So there is an interaction between the living organisms and non-living things, yes? And any area, any place that the living and non-living things interact with each other, we call this ecosystem, okay? So what is the meaning of ecosystems? An area, okay, in which living and non-living things interact with each other, okay? We have many types of ecosystems. As you see here, this is a grassland, okay? So this area, the animals and the plants in this area interact with the non-living things like water, like sun, yes? So this is an ecosystem. Here we have the desert ecosystem. This is an area that has some living organisms that interact with non-living things, yes? So we have here another example for the ecosystems, the marine ecosystems. As deep in the oceans or seas, we have many living organisms interact with the non-living things, yes? What do you notice from these examples? As we have many ecosystems, okay, and each ecosystem has living organisms that can live in this area, okay? As the fish can't live in the desert, or the camel can't live in the ocean, the marine ecosystem. Why? Because there are characteristics, okay, that help the living organisms to survive and reproduce in the ecosystem in which they live in. And this is called adaptation. So here, the living organisms have characteristics that help them to survive, to keep alive, and reproduce, to have babies in this ecosystem, in this area. Okay, so this called adaptation. Okay, you will find the sentence in your book as you see here. Can you read it with me? Yes, adaptation occur over many generations. What the meaning of this? As the old generations doesn't adapt it to their environment as the new generations. I will give you 2 examples to make it clear for you, okay, to understand this sentence. As what you see here, this is a giraffe, yes, and here the old generation doesn't have a long neck as the new generation, okay, as when the ancestors have a problem with their short neck, they can't reach the tall trees, so the new generation adapted to this and it has taller neck, okay, and so on. Okay, so this is the meaning of adaptation occur over many generations, as it takes a lot of time to adapt, to live and survive in their environment. Okay, we have many types of adaptations, okay, for the living organisms, as they can have characteristics that help them to survive and reproduce in extreme hot climate, in very, very hot climate. Or there are living organisms that have adaptations that help them to live and survive in very, very cold climate, as extreme cold climate. Now we will take examples for how the living organisms have different ways to protect themselves from the extreme hot climate, okay, as it's too hot. So now we have the first example, the starred agma lizard. This is a lizard that lives in desert, okay, so desert, we know that desert is very, very hot, okay. So this starred agma lizard protects itself by what? Finding shaded area to keep its body cool, okay. So this is an adaptation in the extreme hot climate, as this starred agma lizard protect itself by finding shaded area, okay, to keep its body cool. What is the meaning of shaded area? As you see here, this is the shaded area. There is a shadow, so the starred agma lizard find this shadow and keep itself in this place to keep its body cool. Okay, we have another example here. The palm leaves, okay? The palm leaves are covered with waxy layer, okay? So why they are covered with waxy layer? As you know that the palm trees found in desert or in hot climate, okay? So the palm leaves are covered with waxy layer to protect them from extreme hot climate, okay, to protect them from the extreme hot climate, okay. This is just information for you, okay, as the waxy layer on the leaves protects the leaves from losing water, okay, as the leaves contain water inside it. If the climate is very, very hot, so the water will evaporate, yes, and the leaf will dry. So now we took 2 examples, okay, as an example for animal like starred agma lizard that protects itself from the hot climate by what? By finding shaded area. And the palm leaves that covered with what? Yes, waxy layer to protect them from what? Yes, the extreme hot climate. Now we will take an example for the human being. as what are you doing when the weather is very hot? Yes, I hear you. Yes, you may wear light clothes and hats, yes, or using umbrella, okay, to protect yourself from the extreme hot climate, yes. So, human being use umbrella and light clothes to protect himself from extreme hot climate, and this is an adaptation, okay. So now I will start activity 2, penguin's feet, as now we will see an example for adaptation for an animal that lives in extreme cold climate, okay. As we have here, this is the penguin, okay, and the penguin lives in extreme cold environment. You know that the penguin is a bird, but it can't fly, okay. It can stand on the ice all day. How? Because it has an adaptations that help it to live in this environment, okay. As penguin habitat, you know, habitat means home, yes, is Antarctica. Antarctica is a polar region, and it has a polar climate, so it's extreme cold there, okay. As you know, what is the polar regions? We have Antarctica, as you see here in the south. Yes, this is Antarctica, which has the penguin. And we have another polar region in the north, which is Arctic region. And we will talk about it next lessons, okay? Now, we know that the penguin lives in Antarctica. It's a polar region with a polar climate. So, the penguin must have adaptations to survive in this cold environment. So the adaptations in the penguins, you know, in their bodies, okay, and in their feet. In their bodies, as the penguin body is covered with dense feathers and a thick layer of fat. So it's covered by what? Dense feathers. You know, feathers, all birds have feathers, okay, and thick layer of fat, as penguin has a big layer of fat, okay. Why? To keep its body warm. So there are dense feathers, a lot of feathers, yes, and a big layer or thick layer of fat. Why? To keep its body warm, okay. Okay, but if you look to its feet, there is no feathers, but it stay warm and can stand on ice for a long time, all day. How? Now we will see. The blood moves inside the blood vessels in all living organisms that have blood. So the blood moves inside the blood vessels, okay? So here, as the blood moves inside the blood vessels, so the cold blood in the penguin's feet moves up, okay, in the blood vessels, okay, from the feet to the feather-coated body, okay. So what happens? The blood vessels bring the cold blood up from the feet, okay, as you see here in the picture, the blue arrow. So this is the cold blood. So the blood vessels carry this cold blood up from the feet, while the other blood vessels bring warm blood, which is with the red arrow, okay, to the feet from the feather-coated blood. So the cold blood replaced by warm blood all the time. The cold blood goes up to the feather-coated body, okay, the warm body, and another warm blood comes to the feet, okay. So again, the blood vessels bring the cold blood up from the feet, while the other blood vessels bring warm blood to the feet from the feather-coated body. Okay? Okay. Also, there is another thing that, do you see here? Yes, the blood vessels weave around each other. Okay? As they go around each other like this, so it's weave around each other. The blood vessels weave around each other. Why? As this, the warm blood vessels heat up the cold blood vessels. So the warm blood vessels heat up the cold blood vessels. So the heat transfers to the penguin's feet. Okay? Okay. So the adaptations in the penguin's feet, as the blood vessels bring cold blood up from the feet, and other blood vessels bring warm blood to the feet from the feather-coated body. Okay? Also, the vessels, as you see here, weave around each other, so the warm blood vessels heat up, okay, the cold blood vessels, so the heat transfers to the penguin's feet. So the penguin's feet always warm and can stand on the ice. Okay? To imagine weave around looks like when you in a cold day and your hand is very cold and you go to your mom and your mom wraps your hand like that. So what happens? Your hand heated up, okay, and the heat transfer from your mom to you. Okay, so that's what happens in the blood vessels. They are weave around, so the warm blood vessels heat up the cold blood vessels. Okay, here we have a question. I want you to answer it in the comments. Okay, even in English or in Arabic. Okay, so what do you think? What happens if the warm blood vessels and the cold blood vessels in the penguin's feet don't weave around each other? Think about this question and write in the comments, okay? I will wait for your answers, okay? With this information, we finished this part from our lesson. Next video, we will make activity 3. So for now, don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.